Okay, everyone, this is the video tutorial to help guide you in creating your poetry project for the final assessment on our Unit 3, which is Culminating Poetry Project, which we went over in class on Friday. Right. So first things first, this video is just like when we do essays. This video is to guide you, to help keep you focused and help you complete this project by following the correct requirements and getting it done on time. So, without delaying, first things first, you're going to want to have this document open from Friday with the notes on it. If you can't locate it, it's at the top of right here at Google Classroom. And if you weren't here Friday, the notes that we took down on that document are also here in these PowerPoint notes and slides from Friday as well. So if you missed Friday, you might want to first open up this document and open up these notes. And then you're going to want to take these notes down on this document. This document is completed though because this is a completed version as if you had taken the notes. I know most of you were here though, so if you were here, you're ready to begin the poetry project. So first thing you want to do is pause and make sure that you have this document open on your screen. So pause the video and do that now. Alright, if the video is paused, then you want to kind of quickly review some of the requirements of the poem. Remember, the poem must be at least 14 lines long. It has to include some rhyme. It has to have all of the following poetic devices used somewhere in the poem: alliteration, imagery, personification, simile, and metaphor. And it also has to show clear effort and creativity. Finally, make sure that any topic that you're writing your poem about is school appropriate. Okay, the first step, if you recall, was to list down a bunch of different topics that you could possibly write about. Yours should have these examples down there. And then you were supposed to pick three to kind of brainstorm and have an idea of what you could possibly write your poem about. So if you have this part complete, you're ready to go to the next step. If you haven't completed this part, step one, you want to pause the video and use this Google Slides or PowerPoint to do that now. Alright, if you're done with step one, then you're ready to move on to step two. Step two was to take a topic that you think you want to write about. So today you're going to have to commit. I know on Friday in class you might have just done one as an example, but today you have to start to commit because you have to start putting your poem together. So you have to choose a topic that you are going to write about. So either from the list that you came up with, or maybe you thought of one over the weekend, and then you want to write your poem on that topic. So as an example, I'm going to use the one that I had from Friday. I'm just going to type grandma because I have, I was using that as an example in class. I could easily write a poem about my grandmother. But you can write a poem about anyone, anything, any topic. It's completely up to you as long as it's one of these topics. So pause the video and make sure that you have the topic that you're going to be writing your poem on written here in step two. Okay, maybe you kept the same topic, maybe you changed it. If you changed it, then you're going to want to write down some things, associated imagery, which is also a requirement. Remember, you need some imagery in the poem. And imagery is things that you can see, hear, smell, touch, and feel. So what are some things, when I think about my grandma, what are some of the things I see? If you recall, I talked about how I see her in her apron, cooking food, which is something that she does quite often. What are things I might hear? I might hear her shrill voice calling my name from another room. What are some things that I smell? You know, I might smell maybe the scent associated with their house. I think Friday I talked about the smell of butterscotch candy in her living room. She always had butterscotch candy in her living room. What are some things that I might touch? Again, it could be, you know, her wrinkly, if she was older, soft hands. It could be something I feel. You know, again, this is completely open for interpretation. And then what are some emotions connected to my grandmother? Love, generosity. I'm trying to think of other emotions. Sometimes she would be angry, but she'd be tough, angry. I would list a bunch of different emotions. So what you want to do right now is to pause the video and make sure that you have images for your topic written out right here for step 2. So pause the video and do that now. Alright, if you're back, then you should have steps 1 and 2 completed. Maybe you did that on Friday. Maybe you have it done again today with the topic that you're going to write about. And you're now ready to start planning your poem and putting it together and starting to draft it. So remember, these are the examples of the literary devices that you have to include. You have to have one example of alliteration, and here were some examples of alliteration. You have to have one example of imagery. Here's some examples of imagery. One example of personification. One example of a simile. Again, you're not using these. These are just examples. You gotta write your own for your essay or for your poem. So you need a simile, you need a metaphor, and then you need a rhyme throughout your poem as well. All right, now you're ready to move to the step to plan your poem. This is step 3. We didn't get this far the other day, but you definitely want to start thinking about this today. First, every poem should have a main message or a feeling to the poem, something that your poem is trying to argue. So if my poem is about my grandmother, what is it I want to say about my grandmother? A message about my grandmother, something, or a message about grandmothers in general, right? So some kind of argument that my poem is going to be trying to make. And then for me, it could be a poem about how grandmothers are a source of love and inspiration. That could be the theme of my poem. So what is going to be the message of whatever topic you're writing about? So pause the video and come up with the message that your poem is going to try to say. All right, if you're back, you should have a nice message there. Good. So that's your goal of what you want to kind of preach in your poem. I then want to include some images. Now, here's what I can do. I can come up here and I can grab the images that I already created, pick the 3 maybe that I thought were the strongest, the 3 that I want to use. But you can use any 3 you want or come up with new ones if you don't like the 3 that you already came up with or the different ones that you already came up with. So you want to have 3 images that you're definitely going to incorporate in your poem. Again, you can use them from up here, or you can rewrite new ones down here. So pause the video and write 3 images. And remember, images can be sight, smells, sounds, touch, taste, all our senses. So go ahead and pause the video and make sure you have 3 images here. Okay, next, you want to kind of come up with other examples that you can use in your poem that have all the different poetic devices. So a possible simile that you can use in your poem. So remember, if you're not sure how to write a simile, go back up here, look at simile. That is a comparison using like or as. So you look at these examples here. Now you want to come down here and write a simile that has to do with your topic. You also want to include a metaphor. This is an example of a metaphor. Metaphors are direct comparisons without using like or as. So time is a thief, or the classroom was a zoo. Here you have time being directly compared to a thief. You have a classroom being directly compared to a zoo, saying it's chaotic. So now what you need to do is come up with a metaphor for your topic. So pause the video and come up with a metaphor for your topic. All right, now you should have some images, you should have a simile, you should have a metaphor. Now you want to work your way through the rest of these. So you need an example of something to personify. So come back up here, we'll get personification, just giving non-human qualities, human things. You also need an example of alliteration. So you want to come back up here and look at alliteration. You have to have a line in your poem that's going to start with similar letters, consonant sounds, to give that poem a little alliteration. And then finally, what are some things that you might possibly use to rhyme in your poem? What's some words about your grandmother, or my poem would be about my grandmother. What's some words about your topic that might rhyme together? So this is going to take some thought. So pause the video, just make sure you have all of these kind of figured out ahead of time. So pause the video and do that now. All right, if you're back and you're not sure if you did this right, you could always call me over to check. Just raise your hand. I'll be more than happy to check them for you. If you feel like you did do them correctly, they kind of remind you of the examples that we had on Friday, then you're ready to go. So now you're ready to draft your poem. So now that you have some ideas outlined, you have some images outlined, you have a simile outlined, personification outlined, you have the message of your poem outlined, you have whatever, all the things that you need, you're now ready to draft your poem. So here's how it works. Now you're going to write your first draft. Remember, this is just the first draft. Don't worry about being perfect yet. Focus on just getting your ideas down, including the required elements. Right? Here's a checklist of things to look over while you're drafting your poem. Do I have 14 lines? When you're all done, make sure you have 14 lines. Did I include imagery somewhere in my poem? Did I have at least one simile? Did I have at least one metaphor? Did I include personification somewhere? Did I use alliteration somewhere? And does my poem rhyme? So this is where you would draft your poem. So I would simply just put my cursor right there, and I would just kind of start writing my poem out line by line. Again, remember you want 14 lines, so I would just kind of keep typing. You don't even have to enter at the end of the line, just keep typing. Again, this is not a poem, obviously. I'm not giving you an example, but this is what you would be doing. So this is where you want to draft your first draft of your poem. Now this is going to take some time. I don't expect your poem to be done today, but you could work on it tonight or tomorrow. You obviously have 3 days to do this. This poem is due on Thursday. But the first draft is important because you just want to get all your ideas out there, and you want to tweak it, you want to edit it, you want to kind of make sure that you have all these different elements, and you'll put your first draft there. Okay? So pause the video now and start working on the first draft of your poem. Okay, if you're back, then you should have your first draft of your poem done. This might have taken you a day or two, so you shouldn't be back right away in this video. If you're back right away and you haven't written the first draft of your poem, you shouldn't be watching this part anymore. You should be stopping and basically just going back over and working on a draft of your poem. But if you are back and you have your first draft done, you're now ready to move to the final process, which is revising and polishing. This is where you're going to edit your poem. All right. What does that mean? Well, good writers revise, right? We look at what we're writing and we make changes and we edit to try to make it sound a little bit better, make it a little bit more easier to read, a little bit more, make sure that I'm using the right words. So this means improving your word choices. Make sure you have some nice, strong, creative words, having specific details. You have all the elements that you need, and making sure the poem sounds the way you want it to sound. So you want to look at your draft, basically up here, if your poem is drafted, and just check it and look where can I tweak things, what can I change, where can I make it sound a little better, maybe a little stronger word choices. You kind of figure out how you want to polish your poem, clean it up, make sure there's a nice fluent writing to it. Maybe there's something you want to add, something you want to remove, but make sure that you have a nice revising polished copy, and then review these revision questions. Go over all these one more time. Double check. Make sure your poem has all that. And if it does, then what you want to do is copy the poem that you wrote. Again, there's nothing here, but you would copy the poem that you wrote and then paste it right down here. And that is your final copy and ready to go. And then I would read it over one more time. I would check it with somebody. Maybe you have a friend that you wouldn't mind having read the poem. Have them read it. Maybe they can give you some thoughts. Bring it home. Maybe have a parent read it. Maybe they can give you some thoughts. Have some, maybe a brother or sister. Get another set of eyes on your poem and have them kind of read over it and try to give you some suggestions on what they think about it. Other than that, once your final copy is done, you submit it and you are done with the poetry project. Now remember, this poetry project is worth a lot of points. So this whole packet needs to be completed by Thursday night. So you have until Thursday to have a final copy written here, at least 14 lines. Remember, it could be more. If you have other questions, make sure that you ask me or ask a fellow student who might look like they know what they're doing. Other than that, if you are just skipped ahead in this video and you haven't written your poem yet, then you want to go back, go through this video again, follow the steps, make sure that you're doing everything correctly until you have a final copy of your poem. And once you're done, you're ready to go, you submit it, and then you're all finished. Good luck to you in completing this poetry project.